Welcome to the So Much More podcast, where we talk with people in the custom window treatment, soft home furnishings industry, and so much more. I'm your host, Ciel DeGuglielmo. My guest on the podcast today is Ann Mautz. She lives in Ohio, about 45 minutes south of Columbus. Ann was married to her husband Larry for 44 years before he passed away in 2018. She has a son and daughter-in-law, Tom and Jessica, and they have two sons in their teens, and they live close by to Ann. She has an associate's degree in interior design, and she's been in business since 1984. Ann has always worked out of her home. She sells hard goods and window treatments as well as bedding, and then a few years into her business, she added upholstery. We talk a little bit about the fact that her workroom is in a separate building now, and she loves that she gets to be close to home, and she loves being at home. We talk about that a little bit today in the podcast. I've known Ann for a few years, and this was really a pleasure for me to get some time to speak with her and to get to know her a little bit better. I really hope you enjoy hearing from Ann today. Good morning, Ann. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'm honored that you asked me.
Well, I've asked you for a while and you weren't available to do that. But I also feel like there are some people who are quietly working away, and we hear from you a little bit in certain places, but you're just plugging away and doing what you have to do. And I think your story is worth telling.
Well, thank you.
So why don't you introduce yourself to people, tell us a little bit about who you are, where you live in the world, and a little bit about your business.
Okay. My name is Ann Mautz, and my business name is Madison Avenue Gallery. I live in Chillicothe, Ohio, which is about 45 miles south of Columbus, just to give you a reference.
Okay.
I was married to my husband Larry for 44 years before he passed in 2018. We had one son together, and he is married and has two children, two boys that are 17 and 19. I have an associate's degree in interior design and got totally into window coverings, probably led by the Lord, I am sure. I worked at a furniture store. Well, before that, I had worked for a lady that made draperies in town.
Okay.
And it was a little shady of a business, which I found out her son was dealing drugs and whatnot out of the place. And so, but I did watch her for a short period of time.
Okay.
And just to know, and I've sewn since I was 13 years old.
Okay.
And then I worked at a furniture store, and I quit there when our son was little. And the gentleman that owned the store asked me if I would make a balloon shade for someone one day, because he knew I had sewing background.
Right.
And I'm like, sure. And as they say, the rest of the story is people just would find me, and it just kept going. So finally, in 1984, I became an actual business.
Okay.
And then I've just kept working from there.
And did the furniture store continue to give you business, or was that just a one-off?
No, he would send people to me.
Okay.
And then it was like a neighbor behind me found out and asked, and, different things like that. So he would, but then, and he had a daughter who, and I forgot to say that at the furniture store, they did sell window treatments. They were made by a company in Columbus.
Okay.
And I would sell, but it was at that particular time, the company was not real reliable. So I did gain some knowledge from them also.
Okay.
But he ended up, and I think shortly after I quit, maybe a couple of years, he ended up closing the furniture store, and then he had his own business of selling window treatments. Okay. So we were kind of competitors, but it's a small town, so everybody kind of, gets along.
Yeah, that's a common story. And I think it really is more true in our industry than a lot of others, but it's nice that that was a place where you could get your start. And balloon shades were what a lot of us got started with. And those of us in a certain age group.
Yeah. I went out, I think I bought a magazine somewhere where I could find it, because I'd never made one in my life. I mean, I'd sewn, but that was my first foray into window treatments,
Right,
so.
Right. How did you learn to sew, Anne?
My mother.
Okay.
There was four of us girls and one boy, and my mother sewed, and she used to sew our clothes. And so when we got like 11, 12, 13, she taught all of us how to sew. And so
Okay.
then I was in 4-H and always had sewing projects, and it was always clothes and that type of thing.
Mhm.
Um, and my one sister is now back into sewing all of her own clothes. She finally retired, and no one ever got into the window treatment like I
Okay.
did. And like I
Yeah.
said, it was just one of those things. And I was fortunate because I didn't know a lot about it other than when I had watched this gal that I'd worked for. There was another gal in town that made draperies, and she was very, very kind to me because I was asked to make a swag. I remember my first swag, and I had no idea.
Right,
And I
right.
thought, I'm going to call her up. And she was very, very gracious to show me how she made swags.
Right.
And then, of course, I found Cheryl Strickland,
Okay.
and that was like life changing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I went to one of her things in Cincinnati, and I got a pattern, and I was so excited.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is, then I had something that was real because the other gal, her way of making swags was very free form, and I got it. But
Right.
once I found Cheryl, it was life changing.
Yeah. It's funny, Anne. I think, we talk a lot of us about, well, I knew how to sew. Well, sewing garments and making window treatments are two very different things. And we know it's not just sewing that we're doing. We are constructing and
Correct.
fabricating and all of that. And on the other side of that, sewing clothes has a fit factor that some of us are not really great at and don't really want to continue to do. So I always find it amusing that people assume, well, you can sew, so you must be able to do this. And they're major differences. But I think that lack of knowledge that it might not work is what got a lot of us into business.
Correct. And you just, and I've always been I mean, I wing it all the time.
Okay.
I have done that I just, I figure, and I'll take on anything.
Okay.
And I'm like, I'll figure out how to do it. I'll figure out a way to get that rod up there or do whatever. And I did
Okay.
all my own installations probably until about 2018.
Okay.
Um, which I highly recommend that if people are going to do their own installations, they take better care of their bodies.
Yes. Well, and even installers talk about that, Anne.
Hmm.
It's not climbing ladders and being on your feet like that. And I hear a lot of shoulder injuries
Oh
with,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And with some of us too who are not
Yeah.
installing ourselves.
Yeah.
So tell me about your business. It's Madison Avenue Gallery. How did you come up with the name?
Well, so in 1980, my husband's grandmother passed away, and she was a very, very inspirational lady. And his family is very, very creative. He had cousins that sewed and quilted. My mother-in-law did cross stitch. So I don't know, we're all sitting on the porch one day in the summer of 84, and I was sewing, but I was not, I don't think I had fabric at that time. People would bring me their fabric.
Right.
And so they're like, we ought to open a little shop somewhere. And my in-laws had this extra little teeny garage at the back of their property in town. And they're like, why don't we take that and you can sell draperies out of there? And then, like I said, his cousins, we had baby quilts, regular quilts, there was cross stitch, there was framed things. And so I opened this little shop, which lasted for less than a year because I got so busy that I didn't have time to be there. I needed to
Oh,
be
right.
able to sew, and I was trying to sew there, but that wasn't working real well.
No, those kind
Um,
of interruptions will kill you.
so anyway, when we were trying to think of a name, my husband's grandmother lived on Madison Avenue in Zanesville, Ohio, and so
Okay.
that's how we got Madison Avenue Gallery, and then I just kept it.
But I
So
love that because it's a connection to her, and especially as
correct.
you said, since she was so inspirational.
Oh, she was a very Christian lady, and her love of the Lord was unbelievable. So he's definitely carried me through all these years.
Okay. All right. I love that. So
Thanks.
tell me about, you start to get busy. You are starting this business at a time when the internet does not exist
No.
because same, I
Yep.
started mine. And you found Cheryl Strickland. How were you learning to do the different things that people were asking you to do when you had never made them before?
I went to the library and got a
Same.
number of books that explained things. And I was used to using patterns, obviously. And so and here again, I went to a couple of Cheryl's things. I tried to find, and the gal here in town, then there was another gentleman that had a drapery workroom in town. And he was very helpful in terms of installation because I knew nothing. I was married to, my husband was a contractor.
Okay.
So fortunately, he could advise me sometimes, but he was really busy. And so sometimes he couldn't help me
And again, a
because,
very specific skill. Just because you
correct.
can build a building doesn't mean you know where to hang window treatments.
Correct. And so, because I remember one time I was doing work for a church and it was all in concrete. And he goes, go out back, get one of the concrete blocks and start drilling. And so that's what I did so that I knew how to drill in there. And at least I
Right,
had him to advise me what kind of screws and, that type of thing.
right, right.
But, and a lot of it was just trial and error. I
Yeah.
think I would see something and go, okay, I've got the basic knowledge of, and like I said, I worked for that lady who made drapery. So I knew how to make basic valances and
Mm.
draperies and all that type of thing. So it was just kind of like, I would try anything and just figure it out.
Okay. I love that, Anne. So tell me about the kind of business that you have. Are you retail to the trade, both?
I'm basically retail.
Okay.
I, because I have a degree in design, I don't work for a lot of designers. I have a couple that will call me every now and then. But I'm basically just, I've always been retail. And here
Okay.
again, it's always been word of mouth. I do not advertise. Of course, now I've been around long enough that people know what I do.
Right.
Um, and so, because there were probably three of us in town up
Hmm.
until, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. And now most of it's just me. I mean, I'm sure there's others out there that are making things, but
Hmm.
as a business, I don't know who they are.
Okay.
Um, so, but I really do prefer the trade. And I've been very, very blessed to have some of the most wonderful clients that have just always been very, very kind to me and have made a lot of friends
Okay.
and stuff.
Yeah, it's still amazing to me. I know we talk about businesses and personal and these are clients, but so many of us become close to the people that we work with. I mean, we're in the most private areas of their home and we spend time with them. And
Correct.
there are some people that I'm ready to move on to the next person. And there are some
Yes,
people
correct.
that like, I just ran into, and again, I'm to the trade, so they're my designers' clients. I ran into a client in Staples on Saturday and we were catching up. We were joking because we felt like we were almost related to each other. She has a twin, and she and her twin went to high school with one of my younger sisters,
Oh,
and their sister-in-law married a girl that one of my brothers used to date,
oh gosh.
and her nephew went to nursery school with my younger daughter. Like we were like
Yeah.
finding out, and
Yeah.
then I met her husband and I went to high school with him.
Oh
And it was
gosh.
like there were all these weird little connections, and it's like, wow, if I worked retail, I'd really have a problem with
Well,
this.
it is because you run into, and we're a smaller town. I'm a little bit more rural, so I'm very close to Appalachia. So
Okay.
but I do um, a lot of work within a 50-mile radius
Okay.
of here. But it's funny because I actually am now doing work for my older clients' children.
Oh,
Not
how
a
about
lot
that?
of them,
Okay.
but it's like, and especially like some upholstery pieces and different things like that. But when I see clients out that I haven't seen for a while, it amazes me. I'm like, how did they grow up so, they're
Yes.
grown. I'm like,
Yes.
what did I miss? Or how
Yes.
fast did this go?
Yes.
So it's, but it's very, very nice. And like I said, I'm known within our community because
Right,
it's,
right.
smaller.
So, Anne, do you work out of your home or do you have a separate space?
Well, I have a separate space, but it's here on it's at the back of my garage. I have a
Okay.
detached garage. And so when we moved where we are now, I've always previous to that, well, I've had many, many different places because we've moved a number of times, but um it's always been on my property or close, I did
Okay.
for a basement, but it's in a separate building, which makes it very nice. And I do have people that will come here a lot of times if it's a new client and I'm not really sure. I try to, weed out the ones that I think aren't going to, I
Yeah.
try to give ballparks. I have people now that find me on the internet, which I get very leery of, but I have to tell you, I have gotten some of my most unbelievable clients on the internet
Oh, that's
that have
awesome.
that have just Googled me, and I'll be like, well, what are you looking for? If you send me some sizes, I'll give you a price just so I
Right.
can, and then when we get into it, well, the one gal, in fact, I'm working on draperies now. This is her third house that I've done, and she's about 45 minutes away from here. And her mother actually found me on the internet.
Oh, wow.
And it's been, yeah, she calls me for whatever it is. So I move things from one house to the next and whatnot. So yeah, I'm
That's
very
awesome.
blessed. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's nice that you have a separate space. Some of us,
Yes.
yeah, I like that. So you start out, you have a little bit of connection to some people in town. What did you first start with? Did you have any industrial machines?
No, I would, because on one of the questions you asked, what was my first purchase? I went and bought a new Sears Kenmore sewing machine, is what I started on. I had nothing. And so I got to think about this, probably maybe in 1986, the gentleman that had the he had a storefront business in town, and his dad started making drapes clear back in the like 40s and 50s. And so he had a ton of machines. And one year for Christmas, my husband bought me from him a serger, a blind hemmer, and a straight stitcher.
Oh, wow.
And those were what I started with. Of course, not, I mean, they were old. They were from probably, I mean, when he got them for me in the 80s, they were probably 30-year-old machines.
Okay.
But it's how I still use this, I still use the blind hammer.
Do
It's
you
still,
really?
yeah, I still use the blind hammer. But that was like a major like eye opener for
Yeah.
me because I'm like, oh my gosh, I can seam something and it doesn't, because I used to make shears for people. And
Hmm.
I had of course, that was back in the days of the 48-inch wide shear.
Right.
There was none of this 118. And
Right.
to get those seams not to pucker
Yeah.
I used to struggle with that on my home machine for a
Right.
long, long time. And so I use those machines. Well, I'm trying to think. I think maybe in 2019, I bought, no, it's probably later, probably 20, it's probably only been 5 years. I had a Bernina home
Hmm.
machine that was very, very good. And that's what I was making because when I got into upholstery in 94, and I'm using this home machine to make, and it
Wow.
was, by that time I had a better Bernina and whatnot. But so I finally, and my straight stitch was very good. I would use it a lot, had no back stitch on it, but it could take a lot of bulk. But I always thought commercial machines were so expensive. Don't ask me why, but I
I had
did.
the same impression, Anne.
And so I was afraid to look at them. And so I don't know what I had gone to. It might have been CWC because I talked to Sam Sloan, and I'm looking at the price of these things and I'm thinking, why don't I have one of these? So I ended up buying from him a straight stitch and a walking foot
Okay.
because I needed something that, not that my others weren't good workhorses, but I just needed something that was faster. And once I got them, I'm like, why did you not do this before?
And my first machine was a Bernina. I deliberately bought it for my business, thinking it was going to be great. And like, 3 weeks into it, I'm still paying for this very expensive machine and trying to fit fabric under the foot and breaking needles and all that. And then someone literally gave me an industrial machine and had to get it working, oiled up. I took it to a place,
Right.
they fixed it up for me. And I started using it and I was like, oh, oh. And the same, I thought those machines were really expensive and I had invested in a very expensive machine. So I was hesitant. And then,
Correct.
yeah,
I
yeah,
know. I was just like I said, when my husband bought me those machines, they were great. And it was probably the upholstery that was probably more of my issue. The other
right.
ones worked okay, worked fine.
Yeah.
But you get to a point after you use them for a while, like now you're really used to them. So you can go fast and you can do
Yes.
this, but it's like, I need something that's just a little bit, you know? And if
Yes.
and if they would go down, it would be, and being that I lived in Chillicothe, there was a gentleman that would come down from Columbus for a long time.
Mhm.
Well, then he retired. And I'm like, okay, what do and you learn how to kind of fix some things yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
But no, that was and now I'm like, oh my gosh, has made my life easier. It's like
Yes.
it's the same thing with a phone saw. 4 years, 4 years, I used my electric knife.
Oh, and
And and then I don't know what, and I'm like, I'm just sick of this. I am getting me, and I'm like, this thing wasn't even that expensive. You could have saved yourself so much time. And it's so funny because my son, who is now a contractor, says to me all the time, if you don't have the right tools, you can't save yourself time and money. And
yeah.
he has always bought very good tools he
Hmm.
buys a lot of Milwaukee stuff, but he will buy anything to save himself time.
Yeah.
And so that was a real lesson learned. So now every time I go to CWC or wherever and I see all these wonderful things, I'm like, gotta have it.
Yep. Yep.
I don't care if I only use it a couple of times, it comes in handy.
Yes, I agree. And I am kind of a gadget girl. So I sometimes will buy things that I don't end up
Oh,
using. But then there are those things that I buy and go, how did I live
mhm.
without this? Yeah.
Yep.
So, Anne, what have been some of the biggest challenges of running your own business?
Well, accounting is a real big one. Me and I literally hate that part of life. So I got myself a really good accountant who now
Okay.
takes care of everything.
Nice.
And so that for me is one of my biggest challenges. Um, the other is that people think I'm organized, but I'm not. I don't, I hate I really do. I want to just get into the project. So I have a really hard time when I'm doing something new. I'm going, you got to make a trial here, and you've got
Yeah.
to and I've done that before when it's something that's really, really hard. I guess I just like to dive into it. But those types of things are much more challenging to me. I did a job, this has been a number of years ago, and I literally, thank heavens for Ann Johnson's books on swags, because
Yes.
this was in it had all kinds of different sizes of swags and different things. And so I keep all of my patterns that I make.
Okay.
So in case, but a number of years after that, I took the pattern out and I don't even know how I did it. I'm like, I don't know how I physically did what I did. It just,
Okay.
because there were pieces and parts. So I struggle probably more with figuring how to do things than I do anything. If I come up with a design for somebody or someone's seen the picture or whatever, that's where I struggle.
Okay. Okay. First of all, how do you define success for yourself?
Success for me, I think, is making someone happy with the gift that God gave me, because I do believe this is a gift.
Okay.
To me, it is a gift. If you knew, I mean, like I said, I've sewn my entire life, and I'm trained in design. But if you knew what I grew up with and how my mother had no sense of taste whatsoever, and I feel like what I do is a gift, and I tell people that all the time because I don't do this by myself. I really feel like many times I'm guided, and it just happens.
Okay.
So I think using that gift to make people happy and seeing how people react when you put something up and they're just so absolutely stunned, and it
Right.
makes them feel like their house is just so wonderful. To me,
Right.
that's success.
I think that's
So,
beautiful, and I love that.
yeah, thank
So I'm curious, we all make mistakes and things happen and they go wrong. How do you handle mistakes and failures?
I try to fix them. I try to avoid them, first of all.
Yeah.
And I have done better. In the early years, I did not do so well, I think. And I sell hard goods, which I don't know whether I meant. So that's a real big one for mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah. They're
I have,
expensive.
yeah, they're expensive. Right now, I have a lot. Well, I have a number of mismeasures in my shop and different things from over the years. Um, and so now I've tried to be a lot more honest with the clients and go, look, if you're not happy, we'll fix it, do whatever.
Yeah.
So just because that's a better way to do it. But sometimes I had a really hard time, honestly, owning up to some of the mistakes that I've made over the years. It's like, oh, that looks just great. And my husband was very I don't want to say critical, but he was more of a perfectionist than I even was.
Okay.
And he would look at things sometimes and go, "You're letting that go out of here like on the top of a board. If I
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
have it covered nicely, like if
Yeah.
I'd only serged the top and I hadn't, or whatever." And so from him, I became a little bit more he was very good at kind of pushing me in the right way.
Yeah.
And I've learned from a lot of different podcasts and different people that I've listened to,
Hmm.
has helped a lot.
Yeah. It's funny, the things that you don't, people, we always say you don't know what you don't know.
Correct.
I learned to make valances a certain way, and the top of the board was covered. That's how I learned. And I didn't question. And I was still really new at this, and I was working with a designer, and I'd gone to the house where they were being installed, but it just didn't click for me. And we were walking in the door, and the designer looked at me and she said, you can see the top of the boards from the landing upstairs, right? And I broke into a cold sweat. And I'm like, oh yes, but I covered them because that's how I learned to do it. But it was one
Right.
of those things like, if I had learned a different way, I would have still been doing it that way and then trying to figure out how to cover the top of the boards as I got to someone's house. But you don't know what you don't know.
No,
And
correct.
and
Because
while
that
I
happened. Yeah,
yeah,
that happened to me one time where I'm like, okay, well, we'll take these back to the shop and fix that.
yes.
Because I was like, oh my gosh. And like you said, a lot of times you don't understand. You don't know what you don't
Yeah.
know till you see it. And then you're like, oh crap.
And then you're focused on what you're trying to accomplish and not necessarily, okay, where else, like that just never occurred to me. Where else in this room can somebody look at these window treatments?
Correct.
The sponsors of the So Much More podcast allow me to bring guests to you each week. And without them, I couldn't do it. I'm pleased as the owner of the Curtains and Soft Furnishings Resource Library that I can use the library to help sponsor the podcast as well. The library hosts the industry's largest curated collection of educational resources for the custom home furnishings professional. Membership to the library gives you access to a wealth of downloadable reference materials, videos, live events, as well as a community of support to help you develop your design, sales, and fabrication skills, and to grow or start a business. Join the library today at csfrl.org. The Workroom channel is the premier online training provider for professional fabrication skills. Go to theworkroomchannel.com to browse the selection of anytime access courses created by industry experts. Watch detailed demonstration videos, download companion materials, and participate in private course discussion boards with your instructor and classmates from around the world. Start your course path today at theworkroomchannel.com. Education, networking, visibility, and industry discounts are just a few of the benefits that are offered to members of the Window Covering Association of America. The WCAA is the only national nonprofit trade association that's dedicated to the window coverings industry and the dealers, decorators, workrooms, designers, and installers that make up our membership. The library is a gold level sponsor of the WCAA. Join today at WCAA.org. WCAA, where you are never in business alone. Discover Climaca Studios, where innovation meets exceptional design. Climaca fabric and wallpaper collections are inspired by the original works of collaborating artists and developed with the understanding of how fabrics are manipulated into exquisite soft home furnishings. Workroom businesses enjoy exclusive access to engineered designs and best trade pricing. From clever layouts to classic linen prints, Climaca Studios delivers the quality and consistency that your business demands. And Climaca's reliable, on-time delivery keeps your projects running smoothly. Go to climacastudios.com for swatches and trade account information. Climaca Studios, for the joy and profit of workrooms. And did you ever consider quitting?
Oh, no. No, this is, I mean, for me, and I know a lot of these gals in the industry have all had other things that they did first. This is all I've ever known and all I've ever done. And I can't imagine doing anything else. I really can't. I really am very blessed that I love what I do. Now, are there days when I go, oh my gosh, I've got this many panels to make, and I just, but for the most part, I like going out and doing something different all the time.
Okay.
It's,
Yeah. That is something that I love about what we do. I don't like repetition. So yeah, for me, it's different projects make me happy.
Yes.
You mentioned listening to podcasts. Are you a book reader, or would you have podcasts that you would recommend, or any classes that you've taken, anything like that?
I'm more visual. So for me, book reading, I don't do I mean, I have a lot of books like that with instructions. Like I have both of Ann Johnson's books, and I buy a ton of books that have pictures and stuff like that. CWC has been invaluable to me. I mean, I was just, and here again, it started with Cheryl. And so when I could go and see things, I like to listen. I listen to Louie Nigera, a lot of her that are very uplifting, encouraging, because I grew up with a father that had businesses. Unfortunately, that didn't rub off on me in terms of that part. I like the nitty gritty of the actual work. And so a lot of those podcasts, I've listened to Michelle Williams' podcasts, have kind of helped me a little bit business wise. But CWC, when I found that, I was just like, to me, it was a miracle. And to this day, I don't ever leave there without learning so much that I can't even remember everything that I've learned. But
even as long as you've been in business.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and you'll be talking to somebody and they'll mention how they do something, and I'll go, well, how come I never thought of that? Just a quick little tip. So I find the networking and all that worth everything. I mean, I just really, really do. It's always money well spent. And like I said, I come home with so much information that and I'll remember, and the handouts are fabulous because I am my brain. Well, I'm older now, so that could be part of it, because I don't remember things as well as I did. I just don't. And so I use those handouts. I just did soft cornices again. I pull out Robin's soft cornice pamphlet, and I use it every single time I make soft cornices, just so I won't forget a step,
Right.
or I'll miss, or I'll miss something. I've used I don't, someone did one on ripple folds years ago, and I have that one. So those are just invaluable to
Mm,
me in terms of the knowledge that is out there with everybody. It's
that's
wonderful.
great. I love hearing that. So we mentioned before we started that you're not really a big technology fan. Do you use any technology in your business?
Not really. I mean, my iPad, but to look at pictures or to I am very technically challenged to the point where I have a good friend who she will come and help me do everything when I can't fit. Like I'm on my iPad because I thought I had my headphones hooked up to my computer, but they won't come on my computer. They'll only come on and so I just give up. So for me, and I'm not, I need something written. I
Okay.
have notes. I'm a written person. I write everything down because everybody's like, put it in your phone. I'm like, it won't happen.
Yeah.
I will use that for alarms to remind me of things. But for the
Right.
most part, I write everything down. I figure everything, you know,
Okay.
I'm the old math kind of person. I don't
But
know
it
how to
works
get,
for you.
I does,
So,
it does. It may take longer, but for me, it works.
so what three business items could you not live without, Anne?
Oh, that's a really good question. First of all, um, my table. I have a
Mm-hmm.
12-foot table with a set with a what do I got? I got a 6-foot extension.
Okay.
And that table to me is one of the best things that my husband ever helped me build because
Okay.
I just it's just it's wonderful. Um, Obviously my commercial machines, I couldn't live without them. Um, and a really good pair of scissors.
Isn't that the truth?
Oh my gosh. And I have Kais and I really like them. And I have a real hard time not dropping them. I finally made my have an apron. I found that's four things. I found that apron is really important. I used to watch Susan all the time have her apron on. I'm thinking, oh, I don't need that. Oh my gosh, yes, that's help. But a
Yeah.
good pair of scissors makes all the difference in the world.
Doesn't it though? And I love when they're freshly sharpened and
Mm,
just the best.
yeah,
Like,
they
well,
are.
like your son said, good tools. They're
It's
important.
worth it.
And do you do any sewing just for pleasure?
Not a lot.
Okay.
I really, because I don't, I've never, I won't say never, I very, very rarely work a weekend. And
Hmm.
so when I have downtime, I like to be outside in the garden or outside doing something.
Hmm.
And on rare occasions, I have made certain things. I'm working on something for I sew for my sisters or whatever more than I'm
Hmm.
going to sew for myself. I say I'm going to do it, but I never,
Yeah.
other things take precedence.
Yeah. We take care of ourselves last.
Yeah.
What is your favorite thing to make in the workroom?
Any kind of top treatment. I
Okay.
think where you can have fun, do different things, combine things. Um, I really like that creative side of it, just to do something different so that I try never to do the same thing more than, I mean, sometimes I do, but for the most part, I try to do different things.
Okay. All right. What do you do extremely well?
Probably fabricate, I would
Okay.
say. Sewing and just putting things together and getting it. I think that's probably getting it ready isn't so much my forte, but once I
Well,
figure it out, doing it.
that's my next question. What do
Yeah,
you not do so well?
yeah. Preparedness is not one of the things.
Okay.
I'm not forward thinking, and I'm trying to get there because I'll go, and this happens probably more than in upholstery than it actually does in window treatments, but I'll be like, oh, I'm really low on staples, or I don't, I think I have a ton of what I need, and then, or I'll go to make a Roman shade, and I'm like, oh gosh, I got to get some more rings, or I don't have this, or I don't, I'm here again. That's one of my really weaker things is
Okay.
preparedness.
Okay.
We're
And
working on it.
I just think I always have everything I
Everything.
need.
Correct.
And then because I'm not fabricating as much, like you said, I'll go to make a Roman shade and go, oh, guess I need some rings to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you would surprise people?
Um, that I could stay home, and we live on like 50 acres and we're very, very close to town, but we're clear up on a hill so nobody sees us. I totally love the privacy. I don't have to talk to anybody. I can just be by myself. And I'm a real homebody because I think people mostly think I'm like out there and just love to, and I do love people. I absolutely love
Mhm.
people. And when I go out to things, I probably tend to talk too much, but I could just be here. Like with all this snow and all this stuff, I mean, I can get out. It's not an issue, but I could just stay here all week and work and do whatever, and it would be fine with me.
And you'd be happy with that. I
Yep.
love that. And what do you love best about this business?
The help and the givingness of everybody. Literally, it blows my mind because it was not what, at least where I live, it
Hmm.
was not like that back in when I started. I
Okay.
mean, I had help from certain people, but yet the one gentleman, he would show me certain things, but he wasn't, it was like there were certain parts that were secret, you know,
Gotcha. Yes,
like
yes.
don't share this because then she might take my business for that.
Right. This is my secret. This is why
Correct.
I'm so
And
okay.
even
Gotcha.
though I did have mentors and people that did help me, it was only to a certain extent. And pricing was always, which it still is a little bit, but I think people are a lot more freer now
Yeah.
because I never knew how to price. I mean, I really didn't. And so the givingness of everybody within the window coverings and is just, it blows my mind. And everybody is so easy to
Hmm.
share their knowledge that I'm like, oh my gosh, if you were new and coming into this business, there's so much more help to me, I
Yeah.
feel, than there was years
Okay.
ago.
Yeah, I agree. And I hear that repeatedly when I interview people. What do you like least about this business?
Um, the misconceptions that clients have that we are just sewers and that we're
That's
not
it.
worth, and that we're not, I think now I've been in it long enough that people know what I do. They
Mhm.
expect, they call me because they know that what I do is very good work and it's not going to be inexpensive. But yet there are people who don't appreciate it or understand. And part of the reason I don't work with designers, even though I am one myself, is because their knowledge of certain things is ridiculous. And they think that it's like, and I totally disagree within the industry. And I understand I don't work to the trade, but the designer, the two that I can sometimes, I'm charging them the same. It is the same amount of work for me. I
Yeah.
don't care. And yes, I'm making money on fabric, but
Yes.
I feel that we have to try to educate people and just let people know that this is a true skill, you
Right,
know.
right.
And because where I live, it's real hard to get people to pay for a consultation because
Hmm.
there's so much free stuff out there.
Right, right.
And I'm like, but that's time. I can't get the plumber here for less than $100, and he's just going to walk
Right.
in the door.
Right. And they
So
may not even do anything except
no,
look at it and go, yep, you got a
yeah,
problem.
problem. Yeah. And so that's the part that I really find very frustrating and that I
Yeah.
don't like. And I think we just had a conversation about this on Kim's Upholstery the other day about how people just think, oh, well, you can just do this in no time. Or someone will
Right.
call and go, I've got this little cushion. I'm like, sure. But if I have to draft a pattern, that takes time. If I'm sewing cord, this takes time. And people I think, get really upset at the price. And I have a lot of high-end clients. So I'm very, very fortunate that they don't question, they're willing to pay because they
Right,
know
right.
what I do is a skill. But yet it's those that come in and go, well, you can just whip this out in no time. And I'm like, no, I can't. It
Right.
takes time. And I don't know that people understand that because I am fortunate that people will wait for me, but I'm not, if they want a pillow, I had a gal I did a chair seat for, and then we decided she needed a pillow in the back. Well, it took me like 2.5 or 3 months to get that pillow to her. But I have to have a pillow day. If I take, and I explained that to her, I said, I'm really sorry that this took so long. But if I stop to do your pillow, I'm out of my mojo. I have to do, so I wait for a total pillow day, and then I'll do pillows for a day or so.
Well,
But
I agree with you, Anne. I think that's the part that people don't understand. And you'll just whip this out. But if I have a panel on my work table and you want me to do a pillow, it means I either have to move the panel, which I don't have the space to lay it anywhere else.
correct.
And I have to, as you said, stop the process. I have supplies out for that project, put them away, get new things out. And I also think it's, maybe it won't take me long, but how many years did it take me to be this fast at it? Like, you got to
Correct.
pay for that too. Yeah.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, I think that so many people in our industry have done such a great job of explaining that to people. And but there's still areas, and there are still people who don't want to pay, and that's fine.
And it is what it is.
Yeah,
It is what it is. Well, and like I said, I'm more rural, so I'm going to run into that much more than in the big cities, because people there are used to it. Your clientele tends to be higher end and whatnot.
Right.
But you get used to higher end clients, and it's like, okay, that's all I want. And because they're willing to pay for what you do.
And just because someone doesn't have the money for what they'd like to have done doesn't mean you're obligated to provide it for them at less. And I agree with you. I don't have two different prices.
No.
This is what it costs me to do it. And if you're hiring me as your workroom and you're a designer, I'm going out to measure with you. I'm helping you make decisions. Like, I've got to be paid for all of that.
All that, correct.
Yeah. And in what ways do you think you're resilient?
Well, I'm still doing this, for one. After all the body parts that are falling apart and all the issues. And I just think I've always been a very determined person, that if I said, it's real hard for me to decline doing certain things. I have finally figured out what my limits are in terms of, and it's more upholstery than it is window treatments, because I do have a very good installer who I hope is not going to retire anytime soon. He's not that old, but you know,
never know.
I know it's, and around here, it's really, really hard. But I stay very determined that what I start, even, and if it's a job that I'm dreading, it's like, finally, it's like, just dig in and it will be fine. And it usually is. You know how it is. We always dread certain things. And once you get into it, sometimes it's not near as hard as the thing that you thought would take you no time at all.
Yes.
And it's a major pain.
Right.
So,
and sometimes I spend more time worrying about something than it actually takes me to do it.
To do it. Correct.
So, Anne, I'm curious, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh, probably still doing this. I mean, I really don't. People go, why don't you retire? And I'm like, and part of it is I really do need to work. My husband and I did not plan well. But the other part is, and I don't work. It's not like I'm working 40 hours a week, because believe me, I am not. I do lots of other things that take up time. So if I get 25 hours in the shop. Now, during Christmas, it was a lot of hours just because I was so backed up, but I really enjoy what I do.
Okay.
And I can't, and I'm physically able to do it. So I will probably continue to do it. I mean, I just really enjoy it.
Okay.
So
I think that's great. You mentioned not advertising, but do you have a Facebook page or an Instagram account? Do you do any social media?
Not much. I have a Facebook page and I have an Instagram account. I don't post much.
Okay.
I really admire these people that, and Rhonda Shanahan is a good friend of mine. And years ago, she said, well, you just do this. And within the other problem is, and of course there is AI now, which would help me out. I am not a writer. I can't hardly write a good business letter. And I'm being dead serious. It's just not one of my things. So I don't know what to write. And to me, it is such a long, drawn out thing that by the time I do it, I've wasted all this time to me that I could be doing.
Okay.
So every now and then, I had a great niece that was helping me for a while, but she's just really, really busy. And so she's still in college, and
Mhm.
she's a business major, but which she's good, but we don't speak the same language.
Right,
So
right.
I have to tell her, I have to tell her what I want said only so she can change it. So I'm like, well, if I have to go through all this, you know,
Right.
and I've thought about doing other things, but I'm like, okay, I get plenty of work by word of mouth and people
Right,
finding me that I'm
right.
like, do I really, I don't know. It's a hard
Is it
thing. And
necessary? Yeah,
correct. And I
yeah.
do take pictures of what I do here. Again, I'm not the greatest photographer. And like I said, every now and then I'll put something on there, but I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook. I don't
Okay,
spend a lot of time on anything that I really don't.
okay,
Um, I just don't.
okay. Well, it's still working for you, Anne.
Yeah.
So, do what
I know.
works.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone new in the business or someone who's been in business for a while?
Network and if you're new, find a mentor, find
Hmm.
someone that will kind of give you, just ask, be out.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is just asking. If you
Hmm.
don't know, ask, because I would say I was more afraid of asking because I did not want to appear that I didn't know what I was doing.
Gotcha.
And so I think it's real important to do that. And the networking, I know this last CWC, I talked to a number of people who were new, and it
Hmm.
was so encouraging to find that they are that interested in and wanted to
Yes.
learn more. And so I just think that's because I don't think we're ever too old to learn. Like I said, I
Right.
learn something all the time.
I
So,
think, yeah, I think that's great advice, Anne. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. I really appreciate it. This
oh,
was
well, you're
really fun.
welcome. I appreciate you asking me. Like I said, I hope that I can encourage somebody, I guess.
I have no doubt that you will. Thank you, Anne.
Oh, you're welcome.
I really hope that you enjoyed hearing from Anne today. I love interacting with her because she's so upbeat and so positive. She's a member of the Curtains and Soft Furnishings Resource Library, so I get to interact with her sometimes there and seeing her at the Custom Workroom Conference. Just, I love the uh, attitude of hers that doesn't matter how long you've been doing this, there's still so much to learn. And I love that she was willing to share her story with us. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great day.